we see in Scripture, and then we see in our lives the way you take over, the way you lead, guide, the way you direct. Lord, we want that. Lord, help us to submit ourselves fully to your redirection at all times. We long for it. We are prone to wander, prone to leave you, the very God we love, and we want you to direct our steps and light our pathway. So Lord, please be our guide, be our God. We just thank you that when we submit ourselves to you, you are so big and sovereign that you oversee every single step, and you are at work in every detail in our lives. Lord, help us now, even as we meet and talk about this proposed trip for next year. I pray that you would be directing our thoughts, our steps, very literally. We would ask in Jesus' name, amen. What I thought I would do, can you make me, okay, you already did. I'm going to share with you in the chat the document that I received from the travel agency, and then that'll give you an idea here with regard to this trip. And then this is going to be very interactive. I mean, I'm going to take comments and everything else here. Hopefully you'll be able to see this here about right now. So this is the document I received from Highlight Tours, basically, and this gives us a little idea of the trip. And I really am thrilled. I feel like they are giving us a very good price. I expected it to be higher given just, I don't know, I guess all the inflation. It is higher than I could look up our previous trip cost. And this one is a little different, but it's basically the same. If you look down toward the bottom of page 1 there, it'll say that for 20 people, we're looking at 2,668, and for 30 people, 2,448. And I've got a few other people I think that might be interested as well. So I would say that 2,450, that would be US dollars, 2,450 for what we're doing is really is a very good price. So I'm grateful for that. This is Israel Jordan trip, and I can just kind of walk us through here a little bit of what I'm thinking, and just feel free to interrupt or interject, and definitely we'll take some suggestions and questions. So what I am proposing is that we would fly into Amman, Jordan, and fly back out of Tel Aviv, Israel. This is more possible in our day because of some of the Abraham Accords, which are, so we've got more airlines that are flying in and out of Israel, more airlines that also fly out of Amman, Jordan. So I don't think it's hardly more expensive to do an open jaw ticket, which is what this would be called, flying to Amman and then flying back out of Israel. What I am hoping is that this would be basically a Wednesday overnight flight, as in, like, the flight I really want leaves I think at about 11:30 p.m. on Wednesday, March 6th. And that's what I really would love to plan. I don't know that it's going to be the cheapest, but it would allow everybody to work, put in a full day work on Wednesday as needed, get to the airport in plenty of time, fly overnight, and get into Jordan by about a little after 10 o'clock in the morning. And then we've got basically all of that day. It's just kind of makes good use of time and resources and so on. So that's what
Do you want to ask
yeah.
the previous agent for the airfare for quotation?
I tried that. And again, please just feel free to ask questions anytime here. I tried that. They seem to only work with El Al Airlines, the Israeli airline. I could try that again. Now that flies out of Bangkok, so it'd be like getting a flight from Singapore to Bangkok, and then but obviously El Al Airlines only flies to Tel Aviv, and the time of that flight is very different. So I was kind of leaning away from that just because of that. I can replan that. It would change the itinerary. But that was the thought, and that was one of the first things I did was reached out to them, Golden Bear, exchanged a few emails. It became apparent that they don't really work in general with other airlines. It didn't seem like. So I can try again. I can get with Highlight Tours and some others and get quotes from them as well. So
okay, thank you.
So the idea is to arrive in Amman, Jordan, and basically all we would do that day would be to drive down to Petra, where we would spend the night. So the day you arrive, experience has kind of taught us that you're not up to a whole lot. On the way to Petra is one of the key cities of Moab, ancient Moab. We've never seen that. I've never seen that, at least. And I thought that might be just on the way, stop, stretch, take a look at this, get a feel for when you read in the Old Testament, Kir, K-I-R, or even I think sometimes it is something like Kereseth or something. That's a city of ancient Moab. But basically the idea is to get down to Petra, get some rest, spend the night, and then we would take the next day, Friday, March 8th, would be at Petra. I could share this with us if you needed to, but I think you're probably looking at it as well. So then from Petra, and this is kind of a neat addition, is Wadi Rum. Anybody ever heard of Wadi Rum? You heard of this place? This is like, well, they say this is one of the world's most well-preserved desert places. This is where they filmed a lot of movies, like with desert scenes. And some of these I haven't really seen, but anyway, it's a very famous desert type area. And what they do is they put you on Jeeps or 4x4s and you go out into the desert. So it's not really biblical. It just gives you an idea of the desert of that area. What Highlight Tours has done is they have reserved for us a spot, and I don't know if it'll work out or not, but in actually a desert campsite, they have like these round domes, or they have other similar places. You actually go out into the desert and you stay. Sometimes they'll actually cook a meal for you out there. It's really a fascinating experience. It's one of those that people say if you go to Jordan, it's kind of a must do. So it would be a little bit of an adventure. But it's a phenomenal place. And so that's within an hour or two, a couple hours of Petra. So we would do that, Wadi Rum, and you could Google pictures of Wadi Rum, get an idea. And on here, a few pages down, I thought somewhere they had the actual hotel listed. Where did they put that? I guess it's okay, here it is. Yes, Sun City Deluxe, Wadi Rum, one night. So that's where the hotels are, a little bit further up there. Anyway, so then we would get up. So then when we leave Wadi Rum, we would be basically going toward the Dead Sea. Any questions?
Yes. Dr. Tim Berrey,
Mhm.
how many hours are we spending in Petra?
I'm not exactly sure. We would hopefully stay the night right there. So I'm hoping we would spend 4 or 5 hours or more there.
So this Petra Wadi Rum, is it two place or one place?
It's 2 different places.
Because I know Petra will take about a day. You know?
Yes.
I agree. So it
So
I
do
agree.
you have
Yeah.
do you have activity on Thursday? Because on Thursday, do like if there's we can push out the activity on Thursday.
I think Thursday, let me see here. So okay, so Thursday we would, yeah, this is helpful. So Thursday, in theory, if we do this Turkish air flight, we'd get in about 10 in the morning. So you want to figure about an hour or so to get out of the airport, get your luggage, get through. So we're looking at probably between 11 to 12. So let's say 11:30 a.m. And so you're looking at about a 3-hour from the airport, maybe about a 3-hour bus ride down to Petra. So I don't know how much of Thursday we would have. And my idea was, yeah, we're going to be a little tired from an overnight trip, and we would come in to, make a stop, see Al-Karak, and head toward Petra. So
is there I know Petra a lot of walking. How about Wadi Rum? Is there a lot walking, strenuous activity?
I've not been to Wadi Rum, so I don't
Yeah.
know. I know that the idea is you ride on 4x4s. I think it's not as much walking, it's more adventure. It's like Jeeps and 4x4s. So I don't know. This is a little out there,
So my understanding is between Petra and Wadi Rum is 1 hour.
Okay, that's
so.
probably about right.
Yeah, so if let's say it's 1 hour, I was thinking that if we can do Wadi Run on Thursday, then we can do the whole day on Petra.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm glad you're mentioning this, because on the itinerary I sent them to highlight tours, I have Friday as Petra, and then I have Saturday as Wadi Rum.
Oh, okay.
So, and then it looks like they kind of changed it up a little bit. I need to figure out what exactly they did here. I guess they did Jerash, I guess, and crossed to Israel as a day. Interesting. So in my original plan, Friday was Petra, and then Wadi Rum was Saturday, March 9. And then the other things we were going to see en route. So I may need to kind of touch base back with them, because I do feel like, those of you that were in Petra before, would you agree that you need a good part of a day at Petra?
Yeah, maybe at least more than half a day.
Yeah, there's a lot. You can go on and on and on at Petra if you wanted to.
Actually, it can go up to 3 days or so.
Yeah, yeah, really. So I need to let me double check on that. So because I had actually put those on separate days, because what I had, let me just kind of show you what I'll just kind of write on this document here. Because what I had done is this was Wadi Rum, and then I had this I had put down here. So along with Jerash, because I don't anticipate these taking, like the Dead Sea. My idea was we would spend the night at the Dead Sea, and that wouldn't be an extra place to visit. And then on Sunday, let me just make sure I've got this right. I'm looking at my other thing here too. So on Sunday, we would visit Machaerus. I'm not sure how you say that, Jesus baptism site. I'm not thinking that we would do any baptizing there, but we would just kind of see the place. This is the Jordan side. The Israel has their baptism site, Jordan has their site, and then they kind of fight over which one is the real one. So, but I thought it would give us an idea of, and Jesus would often cross the Jordan River. It is possible that he was baptized on the far side of the Jordan River. And then Jerash is, when people talk about visiting Jordan, there's usually three places they mention. They mention Petra, they mention Wadi Rum, and they mention Jerash. These are the top three sites to see in the country of Jordan. Machaerus, this one you see right here, Machaerus, this is where John the Baptist was beheaded. So that's the biblical significance there. It was one of the fortresses built by Herod the Great. And the way they've constructed it, the way he constructed it, it was, Herod the Great was he was paranoid. Everybody was out to kill him, he felt like. And so he built all these fortresses where he could get away and be safe. And Machaerus was one of those places. And that's where he was when John the Baptist was beheaded. So anyway, that's where John the Baptist was beheaded. So I thought it would be it's got some biblical significance, but as well, you have the view from there of everything around, because it's this up on this hill or mountain, and you've got this view looking across and everywhere. And so I thought that would be a neat place to see. And then Jerash is one of the Decapolis cities. Some of you may remember the city Beit Shan that we visited, and Jerash is kind of like a Beit Shan. It's the same idea, one of these Roman Greek cities with a theater and the baths and everything else. So Jerash is very well preserved. It's just on the Jordan side, and we have not seen that. And so I thought, instead of going back to Beit Shan again, we could go to Jerash, and it'd be a similar, but it'd be yet a different place. And then crossing over to Israel up there, there are three places to cross from Jordan to Israel. And there's one way down south. Go ahead.
Tim Berrey.
Yes, ma'am.
Can I interject? Sorry.
Absolutely.
Is it possible to go to Jericho? Is there any possibility to go to Jericho after the baptismal site of Jesus?
We could. What we would do if we did that is we would want to cross over the Jordan River right there.
Right.
And we would probably not do Jerash. We would cross over and see Jericho instead.
Oh, but but when I check the Google map, it's on the way, kind of.
Yeah, it's just that Jericho is on the Israel side.
Right, it's a Palestinian. Yeah, that's true.
It's on the Israel side, and so you have to cross over to Israel. The border crossings back and forth are not necessarily fun. So I only want to do it once. I don't know if some of you that were with us last time may remember, I think it was my luggage that got stuck. And we spent like an extra hour waiting. And so we actually were delayed getting to Jericho because of a luggage. And I'm not sure what happened. Maybe we didn't pay them enough, the tips there to get across or something. It just, anyway, so I would say this: if we want to see, if Jericho is something that people want to see, I need to I could replan a little bit. My thought would be we might do Jericho instead of something else while we are in Israel. I'd have to think about that. I could try to figure something out. Or we could just say, okay, never mind on Jerash. I'd rather see Jericho. We could cross Israel. We could cross the border crossing there at the Allenby Bridge and then go to Jericho. So that'd be an option. I was trying to avoid crossing at the Allenby Bridge. That's what we did last time, because that's the busiest crossing site, because it's from Jordan to West Bank. And it's just, there's the most problem getting across. My current plan was to cross more up near Galilee, like Jerash is kind of up near Galilee. And my idea was to cross up there because it's a little easier, frankly, to cross up there. So that's what I was thinking. Is there more comments about that, or?
Have you been to Jericho?
I have. Mm-hmm.
Will we be able to see the inclination of how the wall collapsed for ourselves?
There, you can a little bit. It's hard to kind of figure it out totally. But you can. There is an area where there may be a little bit of an indication. Honestly, there's not a lot there to see visually. You almost have to be an archaeologist to kind of piece it together. So you can see it a little bit. So yeah, so there's a little bit to, I mean, it's interesting. And I do feel like there are some things there. There's one area especially where you can maybe get a little bit of an idea. So I would want to talk us through that if we went there, just so we could, what the little there is to see there, we would understand what we were seeing. So I don't know if that helps any, but so that's an area of real interest.
Yeah, to see the walls falling off this way instead of crumbling, you know. So to see I mean, what I'm saying that to see for myself is like, wow, the Bible comes alive in that way. Yeah,
and it's not all there would be left to see today is there's an area where, I don't know if they still have it there even, but where there's a few bricks that had fallen down. I mean, you're not going to see a wall, lying flat down. Part of it is because they were very, very resourceful. So like a wall falls down, well, you use those stones to build somewhere else. It's not like you leave everything there. So over the years, all of it's been pilfered. So there's not a whole lot left to see. They have dug down though, and they have discovered some things that I would say, now there are questions about dating, but I think if you just take the biblical story, I think there are some things that indicated that it's exactly like the Bible described. But how much you're going to see visibly is, it's been so long and there's so many differences. But let me think about that. Is this something else?
Yeah, you can consider the other one also, the one that you planned for on Sunday. You can stick to the original one if that is more to see. Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's, this is one of the challenges is there's so many neat things. And I didn't know we had done that before. And so I thought, well, maybe, looking at something different, people might enjoy seeing something different. So it's worth thinking about. I mean, I enjoy, I enjoyed Jericho. Jericho is a little more of a biblical site than Jerash. I mean, Jesus did visit the Decapolis, these 10 cities, but I don't know whether he went to Jerash or not. I mean, this is good. This is, I want this kind of feedback. This helps me. Did we visit Jericho the first time?
We did. We went to Jericho the first time.
Okay.
So somebody was mentioning that from Petra, that from the airport to Petra is about 6 hours by bus. I
I don't know that is, I'm not sure. When I clock it, I get about 2.5 hours. So that's just by car. So I'm guessing it's 3 hours by bus when you make a stop and so on. When you search for Petra, I think what's going to come up is Wadi Musa, and it's like 2.5 hours from the airport. So it shouldn't be 6 hours. I don't know. But it should be more like 2.5 to 3. So 2.5 is what I get on Google Maps. So I rounded up to 3 when I was talking with you, just because I figured, you got a bus, and you're going to stop, et cetera, et cetera. So, and a part of our constraint too is just I was trying to keep it within the time boundaries that I was given. So if we had another day, obviously the more days you have, the more things you can add on. So that's one of the challenges as well. But I'm willing to think about, so I like this, just keep giving me input. So the idea is crossing over the Jordan River more near the Galilee area. And I was trying to see if I could find a picture of that. Or like look at on Google Maps, and I can't seem to pull up on Google Maps the thing that I wanted to show you as far as the crossing, because I don't feel like they're, okay, here we go. Okay, let me see if I can show this to you. Okay, yeah, okay. I'm going to show this to you here, just to give you an idea. So this is the cross. Let me kind of scale out of this a little bit here. Okay, so if we're looking, if you can see this map, I don't know. So this is, of course, this is Amman, and then Petra is down that way. So we would go down to Petra. That's going to be, by my understanding, it's going to be about 3 hours south. Whoops, I was hoping to clear that. It didn't work. Hang on, let me try to get that back again. Here, I'm just going to change this here and get it back here. Okay. So if we go up from Amman, okay, I'll get this back here, just a minute here. So here's Amman, and Amman is where we fly into. So this is, the airport is kind of on this side over here somewhere. So we'll go down to Petra and Wadi Rum, and then we'll come back up on this side. The baptismal site is somewhere right there across from Jericho, like what Sister Penny was saying. But my idea was there's a border crossing. There is a border crossing right here, which is where we came across last time. That's called the Allenby Bridge. And, you can do that. It's busy. It's busy. I was kind of hoping we could cross over here. If you can see my blue arrow here, Jerash is right here. This is one of the Decapolis cities. So the idea was on our way up, we'd go by Jerash, see the baptismal site of Jesus, which is somewhere right there, go up to Jerash, and then cut across here, and then go up and stay the night in Tiberias at our hotel there by the Sea of Galilee. So that's what I was planning. And the way I was, go ahead, yes.
Sorry. How many airports are there in Jordan? I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No, this is great. Thank you. This is exactly what we need. I don't know for sure. The one that everybody flies into is the one in Amman.
Wouldn't that be Queen Alia International Airport?
Yes, ma'am. Mm-hmm.
So it is, right? So it's AMM. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly it. It's the Queen. So like if I put this in here, So, well, actually, if I just put in Amman here, I'm assuming you can kind of see this. Amman International Airport. It comes up as the Queen Aliyah Airport. So, and then like if I put in Petra here, so Petra, Jordan, it comes up as about 2.5 hours, 203 kilometers. So, and then Wadi Rum is a little further down. So really down in the desert area. And I guess it really gives you a feel. I mean, it's not Mount Sinai, but it gives you a feel of kind of that area and what's down there. And then we would come back up. We would be at Wadi Rum, and then coming back up, we would pass by and have a hotel here on the edge of the Dead Sea is the way I'm thinking. So yeah,
from
go ahead.
Petra to Wadi Rum, is this 4 hours, you say?
It should be more like 1.5 to 2 hours. Let's see what comes up here. Yeah, 2 hours.
So 2
That's
hours
about
from Petra to Wadi Rum, and then 2 hours back up to all the way to other. Okay.
So yeah, and it's going to be, so from Wadi Rum to the Dead Sea is going to be 3+ hours. So I don't know if this will bring it up, right? Okay, yeah, they don't like that. I forget what's the name of a hotel that's there. Is it the Holiday? I forget the name of the hotel that's there on the edge of the Dead Sea. Anyway, but so yes, it's a couple hours from Petra to Wadi Rum. Yeah. So this is great. Thank you. Any other input or thoughts on that? So then crossing over to Israel, and the way I tried to do this, I tried to do it so that we change hotels as rarely as possible once we get to Israel. So you've got some travel days at the beginning, and then once we get to Israel, trying to stay in one hotel in Galilee for 3 nights, and then stay in one hotel in Jerusalem. I think it's for 4 nights. So the idea is just to keep us from moving around, because every time you move, you got to get all your bags, you get out, pack up. It's not terrible. They help you obviously, but I just thought it would kind of minimize, kind of lengthens our days a little bit. So we would then spend 2 or 3 days in the Galilee area, and some things that we have not seen before. We have not really seen Magdal. Magdal wasn't really, when we were there, they were just then beginning to discover. They actually have found a 1st century synagogue in there in Magdal, and it wasn't open when we were there last time. I think they had just discovered it, but they were still exploring it. Magdal, of course, is Magdalene. This is where Mary Magdalene was from. And so Jesus was the Gospels talk about Jesus being in the synagogues in Galilee, and it just has to be that he was in the 1st century synagogue in Magdal. So that's a place that we have not been before. Kursi is the traditional site where you have the casting out of the demons, and the demons go into the swine and they run down into the sea and into the Sea of Galilee. That is Kursi. Bethsaida, this is actually a different Bethsaida than the one we visited. This is one that some think may be a better option for the original Bethsaida, where Philip and some other disciples were from. So a lot of these are things we haven't done before. Ein Gev kibbutz tour. This would give us an idea of what's happening in Israel today, how they're trying to take care of the land. So a lot of new things there on that day, as well as a boat ride, which we did before, and in Capernaum, which we did before. But I think we should do that again. Then the next day is Arbel, and we did that before. What I would really like to do is you can climb up the cliffs of Arbel, and my idea would be to take a bus for those that want to take a bus, and those that are a little more adventurous, You could actually climb the cliffs at Arbel, and they've got, I mean, I suppose there's a little element of risk, but you've got, chains and ropes and whatever, and you can go up. And last time we did not go to Dan and way up north in these areas. Caesarea Philippi is where Jesus asked the disciples, "Who do you say that I am?" So we would get up there. Dan, there's some fabulous archaeological things there at the city of Dan. Har Bental is just an overlook where you can see everything. Har, by the way, in Hebrew is the word for mountain. So Har Bental is just a hill or a mountain where you can see things from. So that would take us up to the northern parts of Israel above Galilee. And then the next day would take us to some places where we've been before, but then adding something new. So Mount Precipice, this gives us a view of the Valley of Armageddon. Nazareth Village, this is where we did our Passover dinner before. I'm not planning on doing that again, but just being there and seeing what they've reconstructed in Nazareth is really neat. This is what would be new. Tel Yizreel. This is Jezreel. And in some ways, there's not a lot to see there. It's an abandoned archaeological site, but it's fascinating. I mean, it's right there in the Valley of Armageddon. This is the city of Ahab. This is mentioned in various Old Testament Bible stories. You've got a great view of the area, gives you a feel of the whole Armageddon Valley, of the mountains of Gilboa behind it. You can see some of the different mountains that play into Old Testament stories, and we could just do all kinds of talking there. And then you have Tel Megiddo. By the way, near Jezreel is near where Saul met his death at the Philistines. You've got Gideon's battles that took place not too far from there. You have Tel Megiddo, which we did before, but that's a real must. And then I put on here for this day the second temple model, which is in Jerusalem. And the idea would be to, as we swing out of Galilee toward Jerusalem, to stop by this model of Jerusalem that lets you see what Jerusalem looked like in the time, basically the time of Jesus. And it's just a great way to get an overview. Okay, this is what things looked like. So really, so that's what I'm thinking about there. Any questions? Yes.
Dr. Tim Berrey, for those of us who have not been there, in terms of like the Passover meal, is it possible to still do that or not?
It would be possible. What I'm doing instead is what's called a biblical meal on the last day. And I think that would be a neat variety to that. The Passover meal is kind of expensive. It would add to the expense, which is okay. I mean, it's not going to be terrible. But the time, and it felt a little rushed. So I'd like to try the biblical meal, and I think that's going to be enjoyable as well. So that's my guess. So
I think it's a good
question.
It's a good experience to try the meal.
Yeah, so it's it's hard to know how to pick and choose, but it's a great question, great idea.
From a biblical meal, in terms of from the Bible, how much do we know about that?
I think what they mean, and this is going to be, where is this? The last day is a biblical lunch at Yad Hasmonah. What they're doing, and they do this in various places. There is basically they're trying to feed you things that they would have eaten in Bible time. So you're going to have like the pita bread kind of a thing, the various sauces and dips. You're going to eat. Of course, there's not going to be any pork. You're going to be eating lamb, maybe beef, some goat. And I don't know exactly what they would feed us at the biblical lunch, but it's going to be something along that line. So this is going to give you, I think it's going to give you a feel for the kinds of foods that were available in those days. So it's neat. It's a neat experience. Some of you may remember Abraham's tent. Do you remember Abraham's tent, where we sat and ate, and Abraham, quote unquote, came out and greeted us, and so these are the kinds of things that they do, and it's a neat experience. So then you can see here on this Thursday is we'd stay in Jerusalem, but we would go down toward the south, toward the Dead Sea. And this would be Qumran, which is where they found the Dead Sea Scrolls. This would be Masada, which is a must-see. We did this before. The new thing that I'm wanting to try to do is we would take the cable car up to Masada, which is standard. We did that before. But then when we come back down, we would actually walk down the Roman ramp on the other side of Masada and walk down, and our bus would meet us on that side. And it's not a long, I mean, you're walking down a Roman siege ramp, but we would walk down that ramp. And then from there, we would go to Arad, which is mentioned in the Old Testament. We haven't been there, but it gives you a feel for what an ancient city was like. And then going by either Lachish or Azekah on our way back to Jerusalem. So this is just to see some things that are down in the southern part of Israel, and then kind of sweeping around. As we travel back toward Jerusalem, we will probably go real close to the valley of Elah, which is where David fought Goliath. So there's not really much to see there, but the bus may very well drive through there, and they may say to us, this is the valley of Elah, where David fought Goliath. So again, there's not a whole lot to do there. There's nothing really there. So
we just see the terrain of the place, basically, and then point to the places of where are the army standing, and so we can give us a visual of the idea of the surrounding, how the army gathered together, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
And the best place to see that, honestly, is at Azekah. When you stand at Azekah, you can see the valley of Elah, and you can see where the Israelites would have been on one side and the Philistines on the other side, and you can see it. So that's, I mean, your best viewpoint is actually Azekah, if we can get up there.
So nearby, is it the place where they Gideon also, where they let the water?
Gideon, you're saying Gideon, right?
Gideon says,
yeah, Gideon is more up in this area. Like Gideon is more like up there near Tel Yizreel. So that's more Gideon's area. Not exactly. He's a little further east, but from Yizreel, I can show you where he was and where the Midianites would have been camped. But when you get down to this area of Azekah, and you're getting in some of the areas again where you've got that the Philistine battle and some of the other things there. So lots of anyway. And Lachish, there's not much to see at Lachish anymore. It's an abandoned site, but Lachish was the second strongest city in Israel, in Judah, after Jerusalem. So and I love getting on top. Fantastic view from the top of Lachish. You can still see a little bit of the gates. And then these are the days that we would be in Jerusalem. And some of the new things would be Shiloh. Shiloh is now open. Shiloh is where the tabernacle was. So I've never been to Shiloh. It's in the West Bank area. They have done a lot of work. I actually think if you Google it, it's going to be spelled Shiloh, not with an H. But they've done a lot of work to open up Shiloh. It's highly recommended. And so I'm really looking forward to seeing Shiloh. I've never been there myself. And then some of these others are places where we've been before, but it's just places that you really need to go if you go to Israel. The next day, the Temple Mount, the Western Tunnel, we've done that before. The Southern Walls, we've seen a lot of these things before. Hezekiah's Tunnel, I really would like this time. I've done it once before. We didn't do it as a group last time, but you can walk through Hezekiah's Tunnel. It's about knee deep in water. And so I'd love to actually walk through the tunnel, and that brings you out close to Akeldama. Akeldama is where Judas Iscariot was buried. And it just gives you another view of Jerusalem. We've never been there. And so I think that would be a neat way to, and it's right there when you come out of Hezekiah's Tunnel, it's not too far there. So coming out of Hezekiah's Tunnel, you don't want to do too many other things because you might be a little wet. so basically you do Hezekiah's Tunnel the last thing in that day, maybe a little something else. You can get back to your hotel and get some dry clothes on, because when you
actually dry out very quickly. Actually, I've been to Hezekiah Tunnel, and in fact, I walked all throughout the whole city. But it will dry up very quickly. Okay. Not too bad.
Okay, good. That's helpful. That's helpful. What I remember. Do you remember, Sister Penny? I remember about being about knee deep in water, right?
Some places it's knee deep. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. It's neat. It's a neat experience.
You can wear a water shoes, or I forgot. I was just barefooted. I took out my shoes. I took out my socks. And I was in there.
Yeah, neat. And there's another option. If some don't want to walk through water, you can go through one of the old Jebusite tunnels, and you come out about the same place, but the Jebusite tunnels are dry. So you got options.
That's both like dry and wet. Yes.
Yeah, but Hezekiah's Tunnel is a lot more fun. It's more adventurous. So anyway.
How long is the walk along the tunnel?
Through Hezekiah's Tunnel?
Mm-hmm.
I forget what that is.
It's not too long.
I'm guessing like 600 meters.
Oh.
It's not too long. It's like maybe
maybe about half a kilometer walk.
10 it's not too long. 10, 15 minutes, maybe 20.
Yeah, it's not.
Because when I was in there was a group of Israeli students, high school students, and they were singing all in there. There was no quiet. So I enjoy, but the sound of the tunnel, just singing, drives me nuts. I can't wait to get out from there. I'm sorry, but it's not too long. Yeah.
This says 533 meters is what it says. So it's a little over half a kilometer. So very doable. Very doable. It's not super fast because you're in the dark. I mean, you've got flashlights, but you're walking in water. So it's a half a kilometer, but you're feeling your way through. You got the walls on each side, so it's fun. It's a neat experience. And the thing is, go ahead.
Have you seen a plaque that is in the tunnel?
I've seen the plaque. It's not. They took the plaque out of the tunnel. So the plaque is not actually there. Now, they might have a replica plaque in there that they put in there in the same spot. I'm pretty sure they marked the spot where they took it out of. But the actual plaque, that was in Hezekiah's Tunnel, they took it out to try to preserve it. And as I remember, that plaque is actually, I think it is in Istanbul. And I think we saw that plaque in the Istanbul Museum when we were there in Turkey. So that's what I'm remembering. So it's called the Salome inscription, and it's fascinating because it is telling you the story of what happened. I mean, the Bible talks about this. It talks about Hezekiah building a tunnel in the Old Testament. And you're walking through the tunnel, and the guy that first discovered it as he was going through found this Salom inscription, as it's called. And it tells the story how they started building the tunnel from both sides, and they somehow met in the middle. Like they're carving through rock, each trying to meet the other, and they somehow meet. And they don't have fancy equipment like we do today, but they managed to meet in the middle. So it's really fascinating. So anyway, that inscription is in the Istanbul Archaeology Museum, and we saw that, those of you that were with us on our Turkey-Greece trip. So anyway, really neat. So last day of the trip there, and again, well, I'll say that a little bit later here. So would be the Mount of Olives. I put that first because it's best to do the Mount of Olives when the sun is coming up, and the sun is shining its rays down onto the city of Jerusalem. So the idea, plus that's going to be Sunday morning, and so that'd be neat to have a little worship service there if we could on top of Mount Olives there as the sun comes up and we see Jerusalem below. There's a neat first century tomb there that gives us an idea of what a tomb was like. They put, to them, a tomb was a cave, and you'd put the bodies in this cave and you'd put a stone on it. And then when the body had fully rotted, you would take the remaining bones, put them in a bone box, and you'd put them in a niche on the side of the cave. So a tomb would have multiple graves in it. This is how they did it. And so this tomb gives you an idea of what that looks like. Then the Temple Institute, we haven't been there before. I thought this would be a good, this is Jewish people who are working toward the third temple. The first temple was Solomon's. The second temple was Zerubbabel's and Herod's. Herod built on to the second temple. There's never been a third temple. The third temple is what the people of the Temple Institute, that's what they're working toward. They're looking to the day when they can build a temple again. So I thought that would be an interesting thing to see. Yad Hasmonah is a place, they've got gardens with biblical trees and plants, and they've tried to make it beautiful. It'd be a nice spot to have a lunch. And then as we go toward the airport, Old Joppa, we didn't do this last time, but we could go to Old Joppa. We could see the port where Jonah left as he was trying to go to Tarshish. You've got it's an old area there. There's different things to see. And then we would head to the airport for an overnight flight home. And again, my idea is one of these flights like Turkish Airlines that leaves about 9 o'clock at night. That way you get a last full day before you end up at the airport. So that's what I'm kind of planning and thinking. Mm-hmm. So this is good. So any other questions or comments? So we've got this has been helpful to get input. Anybody?
Dr. Tim
Yes,
Berrey,
ma'am.
on Saturday when we are at Temple Mount and Western Tunnel, it's a Sabbath, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is it open? It's open.
Yeah, some of that is open. What they will do is they will flip things around a little bit based on what's open and when. So, for example, basically, so we get to Jerusalem by Wednesday night. All right, and then we have Thursday and Friday and Saturday and Sunday. So the order of the things as I have them here may change depending upon timing on religious days and things like that. So they'll switch things around a little bit on us during the days because they know what's open and what's not. Mm-hmm. So like Friday is a Muslim holiday, Saturday is a Jewish holiday, Sunday is a Christian holiday. So that's where you have to kind of plan what you're going to do and when you're going to do it. So that's one of the challenges. So they'll help us. So it may end up that maybe what I have for Saturday, we might end up doing on Thursday, for example, and Saturday go down south and see some of the things down there. So it may be that the days get switched around a little bit, but this would be the general idea of what we'll see. So, because you're right, you have to factor in the religious holidays. So, okay, so this is helpful. So this is just kind of a start as to what I've laid out and planned. Anybody else? I appreciate the feedback. Yes, Sister Penny.
Sorry.
This is great.
I have a lot of questions because
This is great. Thank you.
yeah, I've been to Israel, but I have not been to all the other sites that needs. I only been to Jerusalem, and to Haifa and all that. Places like Bethlehem, I have not been. So I noticed that it's not in there. And
yes,
I
you're
know
right.
I have heard that there's nothing, other than the churches there and things like that.
Yeah, in Bethlehem you have the shepherd's fields, which you're just kind of looking out on a field, and then you have the Church of the Nativity that's there. So we did go to Bethlehem last time. Obviously it's worth going because it's the birthplace of David, it's the birthplace of Jesus, so it's got some neat nostalgia there. It's in the West Bank. There's some challenges getting. I mean, you can get there. It's just you gotta you gotta hop buses, and it's a little challenging. To me, it's very touristy. So the Church of the Nativity is very, what's the word? It's just very, I mean, it's very Catholic, very Orthodox, so it's hard to picture much when you're there just because everything is so ornate. It's not like now there's a place you can go and kind of go into a cave-like area that looks a little neater. So I thought, okay, instead of doing that again, let's try for Shiloh. So, which is a newer area. It's not quite as touristy. And that's one of the things that we'll face. And I don't know if this is the time to talk about this, or maybe at a later, planning trip. But one of the things we do have to consider is when you're there, they are really doing all they can to get all your money. So they will take you to places that we did not ask to go so that you can shop. And the way it works is that the bus driver and the local tour guide, they all get a cut of whatever you buy. So it's a little awkward because, like, generally I'll try to avoid some of the extra touristy buying places, and I'll try to avoid some of that. But they don't want you to avoid that because that's part of how they make money. So whatever you buy, they get a little bit. And so, they'll say, hey, I've got this really neat pearl place to take you, and so instead of seeing an extra site that day, they'll take you to this pearl store. Well, it's great, and people will buy pearls, and maybe it's worth it. But it's just like, okay, we didn't really come here to get pearls. But anyway, I just say that because it will put us in awkward situations sometimes. So like in Bethlehem, they take you to these olive wood carving places, and you can literally spend thousands of dollars on some of these olive wood carvings. I mean, you've got people, things for every budget. But a lot of that shopping you can do on the streets in Jerusalem as well. And, and I would be more than glad after hours to leave our hotel in Jerusalem, walk down to the old city. And it's fun to kind of haggle with these guys. They're really good. So this is what they do for a living. They're really good. So anyway, it's fun. But I guess what I'm saying is it's fun to do it. I don't want it to eat up a lot of our daytime when we could be seeing things. So anyway, that's not really related to this, but somebody is mentioning here Shechem, seeing Shechem. Is Shechem a place to consider? It is. Shechem is a little hard to get to. It's in the West Bank area, deep in the West Bank area. And I don't know how easy it would be to get a bus load of tourists into Shechem. So people go there. I don't know how easy it is. So we could ask, but so much of it is related to what's happening. Like you may be aware in the news right now, some Palestinians were killed. So there's a lot of tension right there. So Israel is really careful. So we're not, honestly, I can't guarantee it, obviously, but we will not, in theory, we will not have a problem. Israel knows that they have to protect their tourists. They are very careful. And so, you're in this, hotbed, so to speak, but they're very careful. Somebody mentioned here the Israel Museum, which has a lot of archaeological facts. That's in Jerusalem. I didn't put that on there this time. I guess I didn't feel like people were very interested in going through seeing ancient artifacts. I thought people are more interested in the places. So I didn't put the Israel Museum on there again. So that's why I didn't do that. Somebody mentions here the Holocaust Memorial. It's worth going to. I didn't put it on. We could do it. We'd have to probably, like, for example, if we did the Holocaust Museum, maybe we would not go to Old Joppa, for example. We might have to take something off so we could go to the Holocaust Museum Memorial. It's worth going. It's very, obviously it's historical, it's very educational. Honestly, I don't personally like it because it's so dark. In terms of like just painful. I don't mean like it's just, like they don't have enough lights. I just mean it's so graphic. It's so, but it's what happened. The truth is it was horrible. And the museum helps you feel how horrible it was. So, yeah, it would be, something, I'm guessing it's something we could pretty easily add. Like if we were there and we were say to our guide, okay, instead of going to the Temple Institute, we want to see the Holocaust Museum, or instead of going to Old Joppa, we want to go to the Holocaust Memorial. I'm pretty sure we could add that easily to our itinerary. You would need at least an hour. Again, you're going to probably want a couple hours there, but at least an hour. But it is, it is a place that in some ways is worth seeing. It is horrible, but that is what it was. 6 million Jews were killed. It was horrible. So this is great. Thank you for any other.
Yeah, Dr. Berrey. Yeah,
Yes,
do we need a visa to go to Israel? And Jordan?
You should not need anything. So there was a little issue last time. I think if there's a Malaysian passport holder, I think there's a little bit of an issue. But I think a Singaporean, a Singapore passport is one of the best passports in the world. It's better than a US passport. So I don't think you'll need any kind of a visa. So for
No.
either Jordan or Israel.
No visas needed in Israel.
Yeah. So you can, I'm just looking here, Singaporeans can obtain a visa on arrival in Jordan. So not a problem at all. So this is good.
One last question,
Okay.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Dr. Berrey. When we arrive at the Amman airport, it should be 10 a.m. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am. That's the plan. Now that all is going to depend on which airfare, which airline we take. So it all depends. I mean, I like the route of Turkish airline. I don't know that it's going to be the cheapest. I would hope that we could get a round trip for about $1,000. But I like the time of it, like because the time you leave, you go to Istanbul, you fly overnight. From Istanbul to Israel is like 1 or 2 hours. It's just a short second flight. I mean, to Amman, whatever. So I like the timing of it. I feel like it helps us maximize our day. So, but that timing is going to depend a little bit on which flight we end up taking. But we can't really start thinking about that until we have a more definite idea of who's going, and then it's about May or June. You can't really ticket earlier than May or June. So is my understanding. So as far as group airfare, which by the way, I was really thankful. I was talking with somebody, or I was emailing, and they were saying hotels in Israel for March of 2024 are very full. And so I emailed Highlight Tours and I said, I'm hearing that it's very full. Are you sure that we're okay? And they emailed back and they said, actually, yes. They said, we reserved 20 rooms for you. So we have 20 rooms that are reserved in our hotels across Jordan and Israel. So 20 rooms is, roughly good for 30 to 40 people, depending upon how it spells out. So I think we're okay, which I was very thankful for. Somebody's saying here about some deaf brethren. I would love for them to be able to go. We would need somebody who is an interpreter. I don't know. I mean, I'd be willing to pray about that. I don't know if I know. I mean, who do I know who could interpret? But I don't know. I know Pastor Young interpreted before, I think. I don't know if there's somebody else from JSM who could interpret and help them. I don't know. I would love to see that happen though, if possible. Okay, good. Any other? So this kind of gets us started here in terms of thinking about it, praying about it, and I was thrilled with the pricing on this. I thought, wow, that's very fair, given our world today. I was looking at what was it? There was one tour about the same number of days, and it was $5,200 and that included airfare. So. But I really think if we have 30 people that we could do this for pretty close to about $3,500 or $3,600 dollars, which is quite a bit cheaper. So I was pleased with the pricing. So okay, any other questions? If not, we'll just close in prayer, and we can keep in touch, and maybe in a couple months or so we could have another planning meeting and kind of update if there's any new ideas, and I can communicate to you via Brother Yuchai, and or you can communicate with me. I'm just going to put my email here in the chat, and so feel free to email me. If you can find my wife on Facebook, you could messenger her. I'm not really on Facebook or Messenger hardly, but I think my wife's name is Laura L. Berry. So you could messenger her, and usually she'll say, hey, somebody's messaging you through my messenger. So she'll usually share with me that way. So anyway, but feel free if you have questions or just advice, helpful things. Okay, this is always helpful. As we get closer, we could form a WhatsApp group as well, exchange ideas and comments. So anyway, okay, we're probably over time and people need to get to bed maybe here. So let's pray. Let's just thank the Lord for these developments so far and just ask for his help here. Lord, we again just commit this whole idea to you. We want everything to be of you. Pray that you would be leading us step by step. Redirect our path as needed. Show us, Lord, if there are additions or subtractions or other things that would be more beneficial to us. We pray that you would direct in every particular. And we are asking this in Jesus' name. Amen.